Here are some of the absolute best rank play hardpoint tips I can give you, and I'm going to try to explain them in detail, so stick around till the end to understand all of these tips thoroughly. Tip number one is going to be rotate early. This is one you might have already heard because rotating to the new hardpoint is very important and it gets you ahead of your opponent, so you can set up early to get the initial time and hopefully hold the opponents out of the hardpoint throughout the duration of the hardpoint to, of course, get more points. So let's assume there's 20 to 30 seconds left in P2 and you are the red team defending against the blue team. So as the red team, you've got a great setup here going on. There's 20 to 30 seconds left. The blue team is still looking to get these 20 to 30 points. So what should you do in this scenario? If you're the red team, you've had this guy number 2 right here, as you can see, holding this back spawn, which on P2 is the extremely more favorable spawn, one of the more important spawns in the entire game. So your number 2 has been doing the proper job anchoring this spawn. But with only 20 to 30 seconds left and you're going to have to rotate all the way over here to P3, you don't really need these back spawns anymore. They're not that much of an advantage. They're going to turn into a disadvantage going into the P3. In this scenario, this is what probably an ideal rotation would look like for the red team with 20 to 30 seconds left to go in the hill. And we're going to leave number 1 in the hill, getting that time for as long as possible. But number 2 at this point is not going to worry about these spawns anymore. He's going to worry about rotating. So he's going to push out, hopefully get this kill and get that guy out of there. We'll just drag him away. Let's say he pushes through here. He ends up getting this kill, so he's out of the play as well. Now number 2 is out on rotation, and these players need to start pushing out as well towards dome. Let's say they get the kill on this guy in the ideal scenario. So now these guys are pushing out. You got one guy left in hill. And now what's going to happen is these guys that you got the kills on as you're pushing out they're going to spawn back here. So now they're going to all spawn back here. We'll turn them around so that they look a little more proper. But now this guy that's going to be left in the hill to collect that scrap time, at this point, let's say there's 15 or 20 seconds left on the hill. Now he can get as much of that scrap time as he can, and if he kills them again before this hill is over, they are once again going to spawn in the back most likely. And let's go ahead and just say this guy over here, that let's say he took a water route and got out towards bridge over here. Let's say this guy he also killed. So now what you essentially have is a perfect rotation for the red team, because they got all their kills, everyone won their 1v1s, and they are spawning the blue team all the way back at P2, which was the previously good spawn, but now it's going to be flipped, and this number 2 guy is going to be already on the rotation heading for this P3 and get these back close spawns here. Number 3 is going to be able to cut off the middle of the map right here very easily. You know, 4 could even do that and have 3 go in the hill. And now, as you can see, you're starting to get a really good setup, and the other team's pretty much screwed. And keep in mind, this is still with like 10 seconds left on this second hard point. So they're going to get maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds off of this P2, but you're already going to have a great setup, and this team is going to have to run all the way across the map, and they're going to have to get through your setup again because you're going to have a guy watching the back or something like that. You're going to have this guy cutting off mid in the front of the point, and then you're going to have this guy in the point probably kind of watching this water route here. Then this number 1 guy is probably going to die, but guess what? He's going to spawn right over here with this team. He can go help hill. He can go on a pinch over here, wherever he wants to go. So that's a really ideal flip scenario, and how to rotate properly with great teamwork on Hydro, which I think this P2 to P3 is a really good example. Tip number 2 is understanding spawns. It can be a little bit difficult in the beginning to learn spawns, especially as they get a little bit wonky in the lower ranks when people are all over the map and you don't really know where they're coming from. But if you can learn spawns at a basic level, it can help improve your gameplay a ton, because you're going to be more prepared for your gunfights. In this example, my teammate moved from blocking the back spawns, so I didn't realize it because I wasn't looking at my map, and it resulted in me getting killed because I wasn't paying attention and got shot in the back by a guy coming through the door. Tip number 3 is one that's so easy, but people just don't seem to understand the importance of it, and that's going to be throwing your tacticals and your lethals mostly at the hard point, but you can even use like a stun grenade to stun check a corner or something. Throwing your tacticals and lethals at the point can help you break into the point so much easier, and it's really an underutilized tool that I think a lot of players could take advantage of more. And if you just spam your tacs and lethals at the hill, it's going to be really hard for people to hold that hill. And it can really help get people off of power positions and head glitches. So don't write off your tacticals and lethals as pretty useless, because if you get good with them, they can be extremely valuable. Tip number 4 is going to be utilize trophy systems. This is how you kind of counter tip number 3. If you notice you're just getting naded and stunned out of the hill constantly. Make sure someone on your team or you yourself are using a trophy system. It's extremely valuable. Just keep in mind that it only takes 3 projectiles, I believe. So like 2 stuns and 1 grenade, or whichever order you want. 3 projectiles is the maximum that it can block. And then I believe they break. I could be wrong on that, but I'm like 90% sure that that is the case. So make sure you do use trophy systems often though, because it's going to help you hold down positions in the point a lot better. So make sure you just get that trophy down in the hill, ideally on rotation, so it's already there before the other team even starts to rotate. You can get set up and ready for a good hold. Tip number 5 is going to be push out for map control. This is basically just what I showed you in that example from tip number 1, where the players got their kills and actually pushed out with the map control. The main point of this tip is to just make sure you're not hiding in the point with all of your teammates together, because there's no point, especially if you're getting kills. Just push out once you get the kills, especially if you get 3 or 4 down or something like that, because then you hopefully know where the enemies are spawning. You can push out and take some more map control and have a better setup and a better rotation going forward to the next point. Tip number 6 is win your 1v1s. These are especially going to be important on rotation. If you ever watch the CDL, you're going to pretty often see them focus on the players on rotation, because winning those 1v1 gunfights on rotation can often win or lose a game, especially in a close one. If it's like 240 to 240 or something like that, and then it comes down to who wins that rotation, who gets those spawns for their teammates. So just focus on winning important 1v1s, and as long as you can win the important 1v1s, you're going to have a big impact on the game as a whole and put your team in a much better, more advantageous position to win if you can win your important 1v1s. Tip number 7 is bait for your teammates. This is really only going to apply if your teammates are pretty good and you can trust them and they're getting kills consistently. But don't be afraid to just dive in the point as long as your team is with you on the minimap, and just dive in, create a distraction, and try to rely on your teammate to get that trade. Because sometimes I see a lot of people that they'll have like their whole team with them, 2 or 3 people, and they'll just be kind of like standing outside of the point trying to get a kill when nobody's really wanting to just dive in there. And if you just dive in there, it'll mess up the centering of the other players and help your teammates get another kill. And if you don't want to do the baiting for your teammates, you can try to get other people to bait for you, but people don't really like to bait because a lot of times you just throw your life away and it gives you a bad KD. But I think it can be really good as long as you have a pretty good team. But if your teammates are really bad, don't even bother baiting, just try to play it slow and get the kill. This is only if you have good, reliable teammates. Comment below if there's any tips, concepts, or game modes you would like me specifically to cover in detail in the future. I'm always looking for video ideas to help you guys out and entertain you. Check out some of my other videos for some more great tips and tricks. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.